Hi.
Hello.
We've had some activity in the chat.
No,
Calm
no,
down then.
no.
I love you both. I appreciate you both, and I appreciate that you're here. But we're not going through this. Hi. We've got an Emma, we've got a Lisa, and we've got a Becca. If anyone else is here, please say hello. Um, we love you all. But please stop with the spam.
I just love Becca as Lisa. Love you, but I will put you in a timeout.
How are we doing?
I'm okay. I'm not rushing this time. I had time for food. I went to Tesco's. I got cake. Like, much better this time than last month.
I'm going to apologize now. I've said this to Tori. I have had a bit of a wobble this afternoon. So I might be a bit more low energy than I was. Um, it's fine. I'm good. Just we love family, but sometimes it's a bit bleh. So
Agreed.
I'm just letting you guys know might be a bit low energy. But we're gonna try. We're gonna certainly try. And we're gonna talk about
Oh, that was almost in tandem. That was
that was
like
amazing.
perfect timing.
Mine is a lot
Almost
more
actually.
warm than yours. Look at how warm mine
Even
is.
mine is even mine is starting to wear though where we're here.
Look, it's absolutely hilarious.
I mean,
So
this is the second time I've attempted to read this, and the first time I read it was in America.
yeah,
So the fact that some of it has come off the A doesn't shock me.
yes. Mine's also on the side, like you can see.
Oh no, mine still like looks like it hasn't been read. And I did actually read this, like I was reading along.
Um, so we are talking about the Assassin's Blade. Muggins here talking about me. Was very very surprised when I realized there was a "the" in front of it. Um, I genuinely, because I always refer to it as Assassin's Blade, I genuinely did not realize it was called The Assassin's Blade until I looked it up on Goodreads, went, hang on, is that just one of the short stories? And then went and checked my copy to see that it said The Assassin's Blade. Um,
Actually really amuses me. I'm so sorry.
no, it's absolutely fine because it is really fucking dumb. I was absolutely laughing my head off at myself. Um, but yeah. Um, thank you for the love. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, Yeah, this is it's insane. I'm loving it though. And I
And
really,
also
really enjoy reading them like in depth. So I don't have as many tabs this time, but
still
I'm
good amount
really
of tabs though.
it is still a fair amount of tabs. But I'm really enjoying reading it very like slow, but not slowly because I have to binge them because I get distracted. But I like reading them in depth,
Yeah.
which is something I've never done. As
Can
this
I
goes on, I'm gonna have to start, like, starting them earlier because the books get bigger, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to do in-depth and quickly. Um, so
I would
probably
like to call myself out because I see Becca's like the difference in those copies. My copy may not be red, but it is old. It is like I don't know if you can see like the sun damage from just how
I
long
mean,
I've had it and from being abroad.
look at
Like
mine.
I know this has like moved so many houses though. Like I have owned this book.
Like,
The
have I
only
got
tabs I have are where the story breaks.
can we appreciate so this is, like, a normal one.
How do I not have another book up here? Okay, I apparently can't show you the same because for some reason I only have one book.
Um, what was your rating of this one?
5 stars.
5 stars. I mean, I
Is that
kind of
actually
know
a question?
well, I know, but I've gotta ask. There might be a
Me
day
too.
where you go, "No, this one wasn't for me."
To be
Um,
fair, normally for short story collections, like if they're not linked together, so not for this, but I do normally like individually rate. Um, just to try and get like an overall feeling in case I hate some and love some. But because it's all like one story, I don't do that for
Yeah.
things like this.
Yeah, the copies are very, very different. Hey, hey, do I need to bring out the cushion? Because it's over there and I really can't be bothered. But
Do
do put
what you love.
um I do have the hardbacks, but they are display copies in these ones because I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to show it again, guys. Because these ones are signed and personalized. Um, after Airfire, I stopped doing that because I only have up to Airfire signed and personalized. I appreciate that I'm very lucky and I'm very, very happy. But because these ones are already signed and personalized and I'm never ever getting rid of these ones will be the ones that are reread over and over and over again because they are well loved and yeah. um it is well loved. 5 stars, 5 stars. Look, we knew it was coming. I prefer to read the hardbacks, to be honest, because they're floppy-ish. And all right, I should get it. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm not that sorry. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
These are
I was
not floppy in the slightest.
no.
Like,
Like
yeah.
that is the flop. That's the most floppy book I've ever seen in my entire life. No
Yep.
sarcasm.
Yep.
Um, but yeah,
Sarcasm,
so
really? No idea.
so I have comments and things about each individual story because I thought that was the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Um, as per usual, I don't think it needs saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. We will talk about this book. We will talk about Throne of Glass and Kingdom of Ash.
No.
Anything else, please do not put any
No.
spoilers in. We have people who
Not
don't,
Kingdom of Ash, babe.
not Kingdom of Ash.
Crown of Midnight.
Um,
I was like, are you skipping to the end? Sure,
it's
that's closer to the end.
that's the last one. It's be
It's a day. It's
I
okay.
have
It was just so
sadness in
that
my
we
head.
made sure everybody knew what we were on about.
I have sadness in my head. It's fine.
It's okay.
Um, not Kingdom of Ash. Please don't spoil Kingdom of Ash. That would be really bad. Um, this. Um, this will give it 5 stars. However, I do think I had a hard time reading it with this one weirdly. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So we are going to talk about the short stories. I have individual questions and reactions in my handy dandy critical role book because let's be real, no one's surprised.
Nope.
There's not as many notes today though.
It'll still take us at least an hour. Let's
There's
face
only
it.
like 3 pages.
Maybe 2.
um, but yeah, is there anything you want to start with? Anything you want, like any overarching thoughts? I'm also going to apologize. I feel like I'm going to be spicy on this one, and I might have some controversial things. At the same time, everyone's opinions are valid, and if my opinion does not align with yours, that's also very, very fair. But it is my opinion, and I will stick with it.
I love that. Um, I think so. I found a bookmark when I was reading this. I was mentioned it to Ash just before we started, which was here, which was 5 chapters in of the first short story. That was how far I got when I attempted to read this last time, having read this book first before Throne of Glass, because that was the way my friend in New Zealand said, read it this way.
Yeah.
And I was bored. I had
Yep.
no idea what the hell was going on. I mean, she sounded cool. She was an assassin. But like, I didn't know who Erbin was. I had no idea who she was. I had no idea why she was being carted off. Like,
I
I had no idea what was going on.
I think it's also interesting because we do have, I don't know if she's still here or if she's disappeared, but we did have a tweet that was tweeted earlier in the day from Lisa saying that she does not agree with the Oh, she is. Hi, Lisa. I'm not calling you out. I'm bringing your opinion to the forefront. We appreciate you, and like I said on Twitter, it is entirely valid your
Yep,
opinion.
we were
But
speaking about this yesterday,
like it's one of
I
those
think.
things. I want to bring it to the forefront because someone has a difference of opinion, and I think that's always good to have a conversation about, especially in a safe environment about books. Let's be real.
100%.
It ain't that deep. Like, this is my favorite series. I'm still not going to be offended if you prefer it one way to another. Like how
Yeah.
you read my favorite books. That's all I care about. But Lisa did turn around and say that she thinks that she preferred this book first because of impact wise.
Yeah, 100%. I said that to Lisa last night, I think it was, because she'd messaged me saying, um, I don't know if I'm a mod. I can't get that from here. Um, yeah, I know that if I'd made it past this, I think I would have been fine. I don't know if I shouldn't have tried to start reading this when I was at Disney. Could have also been an issue. I don't know if I just had no like inkling of wanting
I
to read it, but having okay, yes, certain things didn't hit me as much reading this second because I knew something had to happen.
I
But at the
okay.
same time, I kept going and I was so much more hooked this way.
I'm going to this was a comment that I've got for the last story, and I'm gonna tell you my last couple of thoughts first because this is what I'm thinking. So I've said, and I do think, um, yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Um, so this is my thoughts, and people are entirely in within their right to not agree with me. Um, yeah, agree, agree. People are entirely allowed to not agree with me and not entirely like have this opinion. I appreciate this is going to be a spicy opinion. I don't think Sam is pivotal to the entire story. Not this book, but the entire story. Him being in this book, I think we could have gone without.
Yeah.
In the sense of,
My
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting add-on to the story, but it's not necessary. The fact is, I don't think we see Sam. We're not with Sam long enough to form an attachment.
no.
So as much as, and I've said as well, I think the reason that we as a fandom get upset about his death is more because Selena is going through pain and we don't want Selena to be upset more than we grieve for this character who is in 3 of the 5 stories that we have. And
And on
mhm,
top of that, because I actually very much agree with that, as much as I knew when you read Throne of Glass that something hideous had happened to her past love, like you knew something had happened, you knew it was going to be important. But at the start of the pirates, they hated each other, they
mhm,
detested each other, and it was through the pirates and the slaves that they managed to actually have some form of connection to each other.
mhm.
Then they both got beat up and
Yep,
separated.
yep.
And then she didn't know if he'd survived or not. And then she was like, "Oh my god, you're okay, you're fine, right? I actually was really worried about you," which is fair.
And
They
then suddenly
started to
really jealous.
get and that yeah, and then got really attached really quickly, but yet not enough that they actually slept together, even though they were living together. And then he like I
Yep,
get that at 17, the fact that she had somebody with that of a connection when she couldn't really trust anyone else around her is huge. But
100%.
also
Yeah.
she didn't have as much of a connection as I expected, considering
The
what she
fact
was alluding to in Throne of Glass.
the fact is, and I read the last story just now. I've just finished it for the live, because I have ADHD and it's a struggle. Um, but
Me last time.
yeah, me the last time. Um, but I noticed more in this reread, because I haven't read it since 2018, so it's been a while since I've read this one. Um, he constantly says "I love you," and she never says it back. So as much
And
as
he
I
would have
think,
slept with her with a drop of a hat, and yet she was like, "No, not yet. I'm only doing
yeah,
it once."
and let's be honest, the consent and the fact that he didn't do anything, fucking amazing.
Oh, grand. Don't
Incredible.
get me wrong. I'm not saying that I don't think they were on the way to loving each other, or at
Mhm.
least I think she was like learning how to open her heart and like how to evolve that in a way that worked for her. Um, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
didn't realize that they had hated each other at the start. Like I assumed they'd liked each other for longer based on how much it seemed to have hit her from Throne of Glass.
yeah.
But
No, I
again, I think I also went into this having made assumptions because everybody else was hinting that it would hit me hard. So I
yeah.
don't know if I was really not suspicious, but almost backwards thinking it and
Yeah.
overthinking.
Um,
I don't know.
I totally understand that you have no idea who the characters are if you read this first. I also understand they may not have been pivotal to the story, but I think his death didn't hit as hard when I knew it was coming. I do appreciate that, but also I think knowing his fate was more impactful for me personally,
Yeah.
because I knew by the end, like you kind like you said, you kind of had the feeling that it was going to happen at the end of this book. So I just had like I could feel the impending doom. Obviously, this is a reread for me, so it's something that was on more. I understood what was happening. I knew exactly what I was going in for. But I felt the sadness weighing on me earlier, because it was like you could see each and every decision that he was making, and you can kind of see where he goes wrong and
Yes.
where they both go wrong. And that weighed on me heavier than just this impactful, like he's suddenly dead.
So this is totally unrelated to Sarah J. Maas, but I read the entirety of A Million to One yesterday, as in the Titanic heist book.
Oh yes, yes.
And I will tell you, the top of each chapter of that book counts down to the sinking. And
Oh my
as we got
god.
further on, and as stuff like happened to the characters that wasn't related to the sinking, and it was just about the house and stuff, my heart was beating so fast because obviously you know what the hell's going to happen. You're like, how are they
Jesus.
getting out of this? And it was like that for me with this. The further through that last story, like that's why I said to Becca, I was like, I didn't start reading this because I was like, my heart was already having a panic attack here. So like this didn't make me cry, but it made my heart race because I knew something was going to happen and I couldn't quite figure it out.
Yeah.
Like I know we've started at the end and we're supposed to start at the start,
No,
but
no.
I mean, it
I think
does.
I think
But
because
like starting with after,
yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm always like it doesn't need to be at the start as well, because you know from the after and then the beginning part that something bad's going to happen from reading that last story. You know that something's going to happen, because why is she stuck to a very very strict like narrative form for the first four stories, and then the last story it's shifted. So
yeah.
I feel as if you always kind of have that idea that it's going to be a little bit different at least.
But
um
yeah, I
yeah, I think that the a brother she never had would have been good. I saw that as her not knowing how to open herself up to people, because she when she did she got betrayed. Also, Sam did say he loved her for a few years. No, I appreciate that, but I feel as if I'll get to it. I have notes on what I think.
sorry,
um
I totally took us off tangent. You asked me
no,
if I
no,
wanted
no, I
overarching thoughts, and that
no, I
was the
appreciate
first thing
it.
I thought of to mention.
But I think that very much so, that like I do appreciate what you're saying, and I do appreciate that she struggles to open up to people because she doesn't want to like get hurt and stuff like that. But I also think she I'm gonna sound really really condescending, and I don't mean it like this, but she's young.
I mean, she's
She's a
16.
teenager. She has strong feelings for Sam. I have no doubt. I just don't think. I think that
I
it
mean,
was
she's
never meant to
been
be.
an assassin for in training for like half of her life, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Is it not like she got picked up at 8. She's
8.
now 16. They lost Magic 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, her whole life has fallen apart multiple times over by this point. Like, 100% I feel the fact that she doesn't know how to open herself up anymore, especially because, as we learned at the end of the last book, which I'm so fucking excited for, like, she has this whole family that are now nowhere to be seen. She has magic that she doesn't have access to anymore. I'm so
And
excited for the next book.
I will
Sorry.
I will say that no, no, I appreciate this. I will say this, I think that's one of the reasons that I like reading it here, because then the parallels, so I'm going to one of the other stories and then we'll get into it in more depth. There's a parallel between two character, her and another character in one of these stories that I think is really, really interesting when you know her backstory. If you jumped into this book without knowing her backstory, like, or what we know from Crown of Midnight, I think that it's less impactful. Um, Knowing his fate hurts me more than if I didn't know. And it's the fact she carries his yeah, that's what stuck with me the most this reread, is the fact that, like, that's where she got it. And obviously she said it multiple times in book 1 and multiple times in
Wait,
book 2.
what was that? I missed that. I
Um,
didn't pick up on that.
when she goes, "My name is Selena Sardothian and I will not be afraid."
Yes.
She says, "What's your deepest secret?" And he says,
Yeah.
"It was that I was in love with you." And then he asked hers and she was like, "I'm a coward." And he was like, "Oh, I am as well. When I'm really, really scared, I turn around and say, 'My name's Sam Cortland and I will not be afraid.'"
I didn't pick up on the fact that they were the same.
And so that's where
This
she
is
gets
why
it
I need
from.
you guys, okay? I just get
I
too
didn't
excited and get into it, and I'm like,
I didn't catch that until this reread. So, like, yeah, 100%. It shows just how much of an impact he made on her. And here's the thing, like, I'm saying Sam's not pivotal, and I'm saying that, like, Selena didn't love him in the same way. I don't get me wrong. I think that there was love there. I just I don't know if it was fully romantic on her side. I think it might have been, this is someone that she can finally trust, and she's never had that. But I think that there is a lot of things that it could have been or it could not have been. Um, but I think he does make a giant he's there with her, and there is a lot of, like, impact that he had on her life,
yeah.
and he shapes her in a lot of ways that we see throughout the series, and he helps her, and I do appreciate that. Um, it's my favorite. I'm so excited. Um, yeah, I will say that at one point, and here's the thing, I will say this: Selena Sardothian is my one of my all-time favorite characters in any book series. And at one point I did say that in my notebook that Sam does not deserve her, because I think he deserved a lot more. I think he deserved a hell of a lot more, if I'm being perfectly honest, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, yeah,
But she isn't.
no. Okay, so shall we break it into the short stories now?
Yes.
Okay, so we have The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. Now, if you don't know, I love me some pirates.
Had no idea.
Well, I'm talking in general. Um, what did we think of this story?
I really like this story.
I really like this.
I um I loved that you can kind of see where her whole
I need to just say
we're totally not sarcastic assholes. Um
it.
I
Or
love
never.
that even this far back before her life got turned upside down. Sorry, I had to my brain went just take
Is she now the Fresh Prince?
she's not the Fresh Prince apparently, yeah. I didn't even
Doesn't
say the
matter.
words right, but I love that you got exactly what I meant and I start giggling. Um I love that even at this point when she's still like right hand second in line, she still cannot abide people being taken and abused. Like, she didn't have to go and free 2 shiploads of slaves. She didn't
I
have to go and get a beating, but
Mhm.
yet she couldn't stand by and watch it happen to 3 different shiploads of people.
um I just want to bring this to the attention because I would like to say that I agree with this, and this is one of the reasons that if I'd read this book first, I don't think I'd have continued with the series, which
Yeah,
is why I think that this book needs to be read out of order
her attitude,
chronologically.
she was so stuck up. She was
And
so up herself. And don't get
and
me wrong, I understand why. Like, she is
I
16. She
appreciate
has
it.
oh,
I
100%.
love
If you are that good at what you do, you're gonna have an attitude to go with it. And I think if she said that she was number 2, but she didn't have the attitude and the arrogance to go with it, at 16 especially, she wouldn't actually be number 2 because somebody would have overtaken her,
yeah.
if
I
that makes sense.
and I think this is the thing,
But
because
it's
I
that,
think
like,
we can kind of
teetering
talk about
point.
this a little bit more later on because I've said it's really, really interesting to reread this and just see how much Arabin manipulated everyone and used everyone and made sure that he had all of the pieces lined up in the correct way. And I think that it's really interesting because Selena's only arrogant because he made her arrogant. And don't get me wrong, she worked her arse off to get where she was
And was injured a fuck ton to get there.
and was abused to high heaven. Let's be fucking real. But
I
I
mean, how
think
many of them suffered through broken hands alone?
and I think this is the thing, like it's very much like she's a creature of his making. And I think that's something that really, really needs to like be brought up.
I don't think, considering, I think if I remember right to what I'd actually read originally and how far in that got me, I think I had seen her introduction with Rolf, who I know now that we'd never met before, but in my head I was like, who the fuck's this guy? I had no idea who Erebin was last time, but also all I knew was she had a mask on and a cloak on, and she had this, that, and the next thing, and nobody knew who she was, but yet they all knew who she was.
Yeah.
And like, it's a very confusing way to come at it. And I get 100% that if you like to read chronologically, it works. It does
Yeah.
work as long as you can get in and get past the attitude of a 16-year-old
Yeah. I think
that very much grows, but
this is
very much
it's
is cocky.
yeah, I think that's one of the things is like with any YA book, you do have to remember that they are teenagers and they have like teenage thoughts. Like I know me and Becca had a conversation about it when we did the video on me talking about books that she loved and books that I didn't absolutely adore. And one of my things was one of the characters was whiny. And she
Yeah.
was like, she's a teenager. And I was like, yes, but it had grown from like the first book and now she was just really annoying to me. And here's the thing, like you're allowed it, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. And I think Selena's does make sense from this side of it. I just but I wouldn't have been able to continue with it personally.
I don't
Um
think I could have. Well, I didn't.
from book one, we can't understand why she stuck with Arabin as long as she did. This book shows us that no matter how much he hurt her, would always kind of lure her back with gifts and apologies. Yep, 100%. Sorry, Becca. um, which Selena would eventually be kind of lured by, which is what abusers do, and it felt raw and real for someone. So yeah, 100%. I think reading it now, knowing more about the world because I'm older and I can read things more in depth. It very much I looked at it and I was like, wow, I always forget because I don't read this one as often as I do some of the other books. I do tend to forget just how much of a piece of shit Arabin is. Um,
He is horrendous. I would
he's
love to see him on the end of a chopping block.
seeing as he's not in all of the stories as well, it's like it's really impressive how much you dislike him.
Oh, 100%. Like, he
Um,
pops up and, like, has just enough of a sway that you fucking detest him by the end of it.
yeah. Okay. So going into my notes, I've said it's nice to see her having a life before Throne of Glass because I think Throne of Glass is great, but it's very much like she has mission. This is the mission. This, and I like the fact that in this one we get to explore kind of like a little bit more of what her life was. I think that's
Yeah.
nice to see. Even if it's
It's
only like
interesting as
a
well to
little bit.
see, obviously, when we meet her, when you read it the other way around, the way that we've done it, you meet her coming, like being pulled out of the mine. So
Mhm.
she's literally almost the lowest of the low. Like, we know she'd almost escaped and stuff, but like, she's still a slave in a salt mine. She gets
Yeah.
pulled back. And what was really interesting to me, and I don't know if it hit anybody else as much, but because I obviously haven't read it before,
Mhm.
as far as I was aware, when she got pulled out of the salt mines and the prince took her before the king had never met her before.
Yeah.
And that is not true
Mhm.
because the king sent her to the salt mines for 9 years worth of lives as a slave instead of killing her because she asked for something quick. And I got that from this. I had no idea about that
Yeah.
from Throne of Glass. So it was really interesting to see. And I know that obviously is once again out of order because I don't do anything in order. Sorry, my brain just doesn't do it. Um,
No, no,
but
I
like
appreciate it.
that whole thing of knowing that there's this background, like Arabin, as you said, is like 20 steps ahead of where he thinks like everyone else is. And it's really interesting because obviously we thought she was really good at it. But
Yeah.
actually, now we know why she's number two because there's somebody that's much better at playing the board than she is.
And he's the one who set up the board, so she's good at it because she's seen him set the board up for some of it, but
Yeah,
because he set the board up so far in advance, she doesn't know how much it is, and I appreciate that. Um, my next thing, we kind of touched on it a bit, is her dislike for slavery is before she was a slave, and I love this for
yeah,
her character.
100%.
Um, it's the fact that as well we get the hint of the white stag, which we wouldn't have understood without reading Crown of Midnight. 100%, 100%. Like you see the link to Terracin a lot more in this one than you do with
Her
anything else.
shouting run, I was honestly more like close to tears at that than at anything else. And I think it was because everything else was so foreshadowed. That came out of
Oh,
nowhere and hit me.
yeah. We also know why she fears the king due to this too. Yeah, 100%. Um, I've said I love this story because it shows she has a standard and a code. Slaves are bad, and it rounds her character out. And I think this is one of the reasons that I was like, this is why I like her. And yes, I know she's arrogant, but like it shows that she's not just this spoiled, rotten little cow.
I mean, she is, but she's also got a heart.
Yeah.
And she also is willing to put herself on the chopping block for something that's more important, which I think is important, especially for a 16-year-old who's trained as an assassin for 8 years. Like,
And who,
realizing that there's
yeah,
more
like,
than just the bad guys. Like, I love that she's like, killing bad guys? Sure. Like, fair. People who have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time and have been kidnapped, not so much.
yeah. And I think it's really interesting that like you see that and she has that moral code even though she potentially might not have. She might have just kind of like knowing her backstory in this one, um, like before this of like her like losing her like family and everything like that. She could have just been like, "Do you know what? Fuck the world. I'm gonna like I'm done." And she doesn't. She
Easily.
keeps something about it, and I'm like, "Oh, I love her."
He's showing off. He's very pretty.
Um, my next thing is just thoughts on Sam. What did you think about him in
From the
this one?
first one, he
Yeah.
was also an ass. The pair of them
Yeah.
needed to like literally butt their heads together because
Yeah.
you could tell they were both that teenager who wanted to be the best, and they very much have been pitted against each other. Like, I can imagine Arabin like not making it easy for one or the other.
Yeah.
Um and like, we know that he lavished gifts on like her, but what did he do to Sam? Did like he get it worse? Did he get it better? Did they both get it the same? Probably not, let's face it. Um But yeah,
Yeah,
I was just like, I don't know. He was a bit annoying in the first one. And
yeah,
yes, I liked the fact that he came around and like helped her with the slaves, but he wouldn't have. Like if it hadn't been for her, I don't think he would have necessarily stood up to Arobin and Rolf. Not in a
yeah,
bad way. Like it would take a lot of guts to do it. I don't know if,
yeah.
helping release three what was it, 300 people?
200 maybe, I think. I can't remember.
It's like three ships, I know that much.
Um, Thoughts on Rolf?
Can I kind of want more from him. Like the
Mhm.
pirates sound fun, not in a necessarily good way, but we both know that we both like pirates. Um, Maybe not when they're like attacking our people, but like in general, I can deal with pirates.
I
Um,
I like Rolf in the sense of
I couldn't figure out where they were though. I didn't remember and look.
they were in Skulls Bay.
Oh yeah, down here. Okay. I thought about it afterwards. I was like, shit, I didn't actually look at where she got put. I was like, up here was one of them, down there was another, and then I couldn't remember where he was.
Yeah, so Rolf's in
Down
Skulls
here.
Bay, and then they
And
go
then the
to
red desert's over here.
yeah, and then they go back to Ardalon for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But
And over
Rolf,
to End of Fear.
I love Rolf. I think Rolf is such an interesting character, and it's the mystery behind like he sold his soul for a tattoo that gives
It
him the
doesn't
magic ability
work.
that now doesn't work because magic doesn't work, and my brain is just like I love Rolf. I
I think
love
it's
Rolf
such a
so much.
cool story. Like I was sitting there thinking the same as that, and I was like, "Oh my god, imagine selling your soul for this tattoo, like being able to like have all of that information." And then when he was like, "It doesn't work, like it hasn't worked since the
Yeah,
magic left. Like I have to like scrape and like climb too." I was like, "Oh shit, okay,
I
so that wasn't as easy a climb as you think it would be."
I also think it's
Um,
really really interesting because as much as he's a villain, he is a villain. He's doing bad shit in a bad way, and we don't like this for him. Um, but at the same time, he's well-rounded, which I think that sometimes, especially for like a small villain in a short story, you're not expecting that. And I love the fact that he has like more to him, and there is definitely something about him. And I just love her characters. Her characters are fantastic. I'm
yeah.
just in
I
awe.
wonder I do kind of wonder what he was doing when magic was still around. Like, what was he using his hands and his map for? Um, and like, did he only end up doing what he's doing and like trading black market goods and I'm assuming people, let's face it, um, because that was something that came about when magic died and the war happened? Like, did he just
Maybe.
fall into it? Like,
Yeah. Um.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. And yeah, this is essentially what you just said.
I
Um.
didn't even. Lisa's mind is working like mine tonight. We got this,
That's
Lisa.
dangerous.
One.
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting because we don't know. But I think that Rolf is such an interesting character and he's fun. And I love a fun character. Like even though you don't like him, it's the same as there's a character in the third Nevernight book that is very like that I want more. And with Rolf, I want more.
I think one of my favorite bits was um that's twice now I've disabled you. The third time you won't be so lucky. I swear that on my name. I'm almost 17 and I can already wallop you. Imagine how good I'll be in a few years.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to try me now and certainly not then. And I was like, if you I just love how he's like, if you ever set foot in my territory again, your life is fucking forfeit. Like I could almost imagine the swearing, but there's obviously no swearing. But I was just like I love
Yeah.
it. I love that he's like, "If I have to do this, I'm never fucking seeing your face again.
Yeah.
Like, stay the
I'm not
hell
being
away from me."
I'm not being funny. It's gotta be a gut punch. The fact that like he knew that it was a woman and he was like, okay, like, yeah. But then he finds out that it's a teenager and that he's been beaten. He's been beaten and like absolutely humiliated by a fucking essentially, and I don't mean this derogatory, but it's going to sound derogatory, but I'm thinking about it in his head. He's been beaten by a little girl.
Yep.
Like, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
I feel
like
like I
that
just
too.
said yeah to all of those comments. I do apologize.
I mean, it's fair because yeah, it's a good comment.
I think I also loved that we got a pirate brawl. Like,
I
got all of
to be honest, I love the fact that she started it and then tried to run away, and he was like, "Do you not think I noticed the fact that you fucking started it?" And she was like, "Oh shit, I thought it was better than that." Like, don't
I
get me wrong, I really appreciated. I had a total like montage going through my head from the pirate. One of the Pirates movies has one.
the
Literal
first
pirates, the
one.
Caribbean movies. And I can't see in my head, so I literally just had that going through my head because
I
I can't picture my own, so I just pictured.
I also think thought it was gone. Never mind. Wasn't
Might come
important.
back to it.
Might but yeah, I think it's very very interesting to kind of see that and to feel that. Oh, I remember we were saying that like she got a good like someone said she got she gets a good walloping. I also think it's really really interesting because she is quote unquote the best. With throughout this book, every single time she has a plan, something goes wrong.
Fair. She's just maybe the
Like
best, but she's not good at planning or foreshadowing what other people will do.
yeah, like so in this one, in the pirate one, he sees her starting the fight. She doesn't see that happening. In the I
Does it?
mean, in the second story, she's pretty good with that. In the third one, she doesn't see Ansel betraying. Um, in the fourth one, someone literally turns around and says, "Do you think I didn't see you sneaking around?" And it's like, bitch, if you're the best, be the best. Stop dicking around. Um, that is all of the notes I have for the assassin and the pirate lord. If anyone has anything else, oh, mm-hmm. I think Rolf is smart man. Then we are led, but yeah. No, I don't agree. I think, and I don't think it's just her arrogance. I see what you mean, but I don't think it's just arrogance. I think it's something else. Like I see what you're saying, but I don't think it's just like pure arrogance. I because if I'm being perfectly honest, knowing what we know at the end of the book and knowing that Arabin basically sold her out, I think that Arabin tipped everyone off, apart from Rolf. I think that in the second story, he wanted Selena to realize that, oh, you can't just do this by yourself. You need me. And I think that he meant for her to almost get killed in hopes that she would stay at the guild. And I think in the last one, well, we know in the last one that he orchestrated the entire thing. So I whereas I appreciate the where you're coming from with it's her arrogance, and she doesn't think people are good enough to spot her. I think that in some senses she is good enough that people don't spot her, but I think that people have been tipped off to look for her. Yeah, I mean, I will take no, like we said before, we will take no discrediting of this wonderful human. Faye, sorry, not human. Um, she is a great character, and I will take no 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 derogatory terms for her. Um, is there anything else that we need to about for the first story, or shall we move on?
I don't
I don't think
think
I've got
so.
anything. Shall we move on?
Yeah, my only other comment was, how the fuck did she manage to wear all that layers and keep herself hidden?
Probably she's used to it
Yeah,
more
but
than
she said
anything.
she was sweating. Like, almost every single scene was like, "It's so hot," and I'm like, "Well, take off layers."
She can't though.
I know she can't, but, like, I was
Yeah,
dying just thinking about it.
yeah. So we'll go to the next story, which is The Assassin
Which
and the
is
Healer.
teeny.
It is teeny. So this is an book only story. So
Oh,
you can buy all of the individual short stories as ebooks, but this one you can only get in the bind up. So it's in the book, it's in the ebook of the collection The Assassin's Blade, and it's in the audiobook and like the actual full book. But
oh,
you cannot purchase it on its own.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Um so this one is a lot shorter because I think it's very.
It's like 30 pages or something, isn't it? 40
Yep,
pages.
yep. We're not going to go into any more of that because, yeah. So this story starts with an intro to Irene Towers. What do you think of her?
I like her, although having only looked at this book now, I did not realize her name was spelled with a Y.
Yep. Sarah J. Maas does not like to spell her names correctly or in a normal sense.
I
Um,
can't say anything because my aunt's an Irene and she's an I, but my mum's an Iris and Maria Snyder has an Iris and it's Irys, not
yeah,
Iris, and I love it. And I've always loved the Y's instead of I's thing. So if I'd noticed that, I would have giggled, but I didn't open the book for that chapter apparently.
yeah. I love Irene. I think it's really interesting to see a different type of strength because I feel like there is a very overt strength that Selena has, and then you have Irene's very like because Irene's a fucking strong character. Like out of the bat, she's doing what she needs to do, and she's fucking good at keeping herself out of trouble.
Yeah, I love how much she pays attention as well.
Mm,
Like she knows more about what is going on in that pub than probably the landlord does.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Totally agree. I think one of the reasons that I love Sarah J. Maas's characters is because you have so many variations to them, but you see a lot like there's a lot of characters that go through. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the characters in her books go through a lot of shit, and but I like that you can differentiate and you can see the different types of trauma they've dealt with, and I think Irene's is really really sad because it's one of those things of Selena found herself the way she did, and she found herself an assassin because Arabin found her in a like half drowned in on a riverside. And if he hadn't, we don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
And Irene doesn't get that chance. She's just like stuck. And I really appreciate that you kind of get like a bit of a different story.
I also love the fact that oh, yeah, I love that Selena starts to like teach her self-defense.
I I've
And
this is
then when she like I know that we're probably skipping and you probably have notes. But I love when she gets attacked, she like waits so that she knows she can do it when she's by
yeah.
herself.
It's also
Um
it's a bit of a shit mood, but I move by her, but also at the same time I totally appreciate why she did it.
yeah,
Um
especially because if she started to lose, then she could have jumped in easily.
yeah,
But if she was managing, I mean, I get it because she was like, "Why did you not like yell at her and be like, why did you not like leave me to it?" And she's like, "Because you needed to know you could do it. Like you
yeah.
can do it." And then it was like,
100%.
"Go teach other people." And I was like, "Damn."
What I also appreciate from this is and I've put this as one of my notes is what I love about this book is that Selena teaches self-defense, and whilst we don't see everything that she does, so we don't we as you said you can't visualize things, so you don't see her showing how to like push their eyes in and stuff like that. Like appreciate that that's something that you can't see, but there are tips in that scene that we as as women can take away and use them in our things. So, for example, it's stuff that we all know, but like yell fire instead of yelling for something else.
Yep.
And I think that's really, really good, especially because this is a young adult book. That's a really good way of teaching young girls, hey, this is what you should do if something happens. And I really appreciate that it was very much a show don't tell.
Yeah. And I
And
like that it doesn't necessarily have, okay, we know that magic's gone at this point, and like we've got pirates and we've got this and we've got that and all of that. It was such a down to earth scene that like
yeah,
you could literally take out the fact it's in this fantasy world, put it in a contemporary setting, and
100%,
somebody who knew martial arts could still teach somebody who worked in a pub how to look after themselves and
100%,
what to do if they ended up on the wrong side of a group of drunks at closing time.
100%.
Like,
And
as much as it's from this story, it's from every other romance and contemporary setting ever.
and I think that I think it's such an important thing to have in a book, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate about this book is that we see this and it is very much drummed into us like, hey, here's some really, really good tips of how to keep yourself out of trouble, or if you find yourself in trouble, how to like the best way you can do something to like get out of trouble. For example, like the throwing the purse as far away from you as possible and running in the other direction. Like it's stuff like that that you you probably know in the back of your head, but it's when someone actually says it and to see it in like a book, I think it's really, really important. Yeah. Um my next one was we find out that this mission is a punishment for the slave situation. At this point, we've minimal interactions with Arabin. What do we think of him?
He's an asshole.
Yeah, essentially.
Is
Um,
there's not going to be another answer to that question after any of these. I
no, but
mean,
it's
he's
one.
not as much of an asshole as he is at the end of book 5. Like right now he's, you
Yeah,
know, a dick
100%.
and, you know, doesn't have the best moral compass and is a bit pissed off that his slave trade has been damaged and that, you know, he might have lost business partners and this, that, and the next thing. And he's just having a little bit of a hissy tantrum
Yeah, and I
because he
think
can.
especially because we know that she's been sent to the Red Desert. Um, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I'm trying to be nice. It's on Smash's YouTube channel, not mine.
you don't need to be nice. Um, yeah, that but I think it's one of those things of at this point we don't know how bad it is. We know that she's gotten beaten to a bloody pulp, and we know that she's been sent to the red desert. But we don't really know much else in this one. Like we know a little bit. Yeah, that's all. Um, and I think I don't get me wrong, and I'm not defending him in any way. I totally 100% agree with everyone that he is a dickhead, he is an asshole. There are many other words that we could say about him, but we're going to be quite polite. Um,
For now,
for now, um,
I reserve all rights to change that later on.
100%. But I think we don't see his monstrosity until later on. So I think at this
Yeah.
point, it's like as much as I don't agree with how he handled things and I don't agree with why the fact that we know that he's pissed off because he's lost money because he was trading slaves, like you don't
Oh,
realize just
boo-hoo.
yeah. Oh no, 100%. But I feel like it's like as much as I don't agree with him at all, like we know he's lost a lot of money and I can kind of in some deep aspect that I don't agree with, you kind of see why he's done it. Don't agree with him, in any sense, shape, or form, but you kind of go, well, I understand why he's done it. Um, yeah, yeah, 100%. We've seen him for we saw him
A
at the start of
smattering.
we saw him at the very start of story one, and then we hear about him from other people, and that's about it. Um, So we might not like him, but we don't know him well enough to loathe him as much as we do. By the end of it, we'll say it like that.
Yet.
Um, Yet. That's why I said by the end of it.
Yep. And that's why I said I reserve all rights to change my mind.
Oh no, 100%, and we will. Um, my next
100%.
my next one was just thoughts on Selena helping Irene, but we've kind of gone through it. I feel like we've kind of fully need that. Um, I adore her just at the end, just like fully being like, no, we're good. Like, I do all this death. Like, I'm the one who harms people. We need someone who can help. And she sends her on on her way with a shit ton of money and a lovely ruby brooch.
Yeah, I think if anyone out of any of the 5 stories in here, like, I'd love for us to see some more of Rolf,
Hmm.
but I'd really like to know more about Irene and what she
Okay.
does with that money.
Okay.
I don't know, there's just something about there was some line about healing
Yeah.
that makes me think, will we see you again? That's like the only takeaway other than Sam dying I have from this whole book that I want to see Irene again.
That's fair. That's very, very fair. Um, so now I have one of I think this is the most so it's this one and the last one that I have the most notes on because we're going to the third one. Unless anyone has anything else they want to say about the second story. I don't think that there's much else to say about this one though. Like as much as I appreciate and I think The Assassin and the Healer is one of my favorite stories. Like it's up there.
Yeah.
Because I really, really appreciate what it does. And we get to see Selena kind of I don't want to say humbled, but humbled. And helping for once. And
I
seeing
don't
her like taking it seriously and being like, show this to anyone that who does it. Like she turns around and says, I don't know who Jessa is, like, but it's like oh, Celine had no clue who Jessa was, but yeah, teach her how to do it. And it's like, yes,
I know that it's the same like cover art for all of them, but it really amuses me that it's water on the desert that she needs when she's running.
yeah. um, but yeah, so we'll go on to The Assassin in the Desert. Initial thoughts on this one, Tori?
I don't want to go running in a desert ever.
100%. 100%.
You can make me cart water all you want, but that is or cart buckets to go get water all you want, but that is not happening. I will be dead in a heap. Um, I don't care if you think it's gonna make me stronger and I'll be faster tomorrow. No.
Yeah. Um,
um, in general, though, it was really cool to see like a different, again, the same as Rolf and his pirates. Like it was really cool to see a different part of the world without
yeah.
really having to explain in the main story arc later on
Yeah, 100%.
about the different parts. And the fact that you hear about the witches, I did pick up on the fact that they're mentioned, and I was like, oh shit, oh
Yeah.
shit.
Um, I also said it's really interesting to see like a new Assassin's Guild. What did you think of the Assassin's Guild? Of the Silent
I like
Assassins?
them so much better. I obviously don't like the asshole, but like, I mean, there's gonna be one of them in every guild. Let's face it. Um, but I really like the fact that half of them are silent. Like, how the fuck do they do that?
It couldn't be us.
Couldn't be us at all. You imagine you, me, Lisa, Emma, and Becca being silent all the time. Sorry, guys, I'm just calling you out with me. Um, but yeah, like I feel like it was such a cool thing to like have them want to train with a master, but not always get to. Like they had so many masters that
Yeah,
they just like shared it out that they all managed to like do the training, and everybody kind of had to do um like if they joined early enough they had to like start at the bottom and like work their way up a bit. Lisa, you lie. You lie.
I I would love to see it, Lisa.
I love this. But yeah, I
I
loved
also
that they didn't have to be silent, but they could be, but there was like areas that they had to be silent in, even if they weren't
yeah,
a silent I don't want to call him a silent priest because that sounds weird, but like a silent assassin,
yeah.
silent guild, like you know what I mean? Yeah, because you're not talking. Like if you were on here, there would be a different matter.
Lisa, I love the fact that you're saying that whilst doing caps lock and basically shouting. I'm not even putting my thumbs down. I was like that. What the hell?
Even her computer doesn't believe you, Lisa. I stand vilified. No, that doesn't sound like the right word. Justified.
um,
Um, that
also,
wasn't what I was saying. I love the fact that yeah, you could either be silent or not, but even if you were silent, or if you weren't, there was like areas where it was like
yeah,
highly recommended, shall we say?
yeah,
I thought that
enforced,
was really cool.
enforced. Yeah.
Yeah,
I also love the fact that like they are such a it's a family and like it's the point where Selena, like I've got it in my notes later on, but when Selena flinches because she thinks the master's going to hit her, and he looks at her with like such sorrow because he's like, "That's this isn't like," oh, and then he calls out that she's been abused, and I'm like, I feel so bad, and it's like, I love them. I think that they're just so much fun, and
I would
like
love to have
yes,
had more time with them.
yeah, 100%,
But I
100,
do also love the fact that she goes in with a timeline and a deadline.
yeah.
Um, Although I do wonder if that made her trust was it Ansel?
Lisa, I'm not trying to figure out what your emojis say. You can talk. Like how it
Yeah, Ansel. Um, I do wonder if because she had a time limit and she was trying to like get right in there and like get to like to the master basically. I wonder if she did put more trust in Ansel than she would have done, considering she didn't necessarily always trust people anyway.
I think maybe, but I also think that Ansel was quite disarming in the sense of she just was just like, yeah, we're gonna go do this. And I think especially if you've grown up with like one way that you've been brought up in the sense of like Arabin
Do this,
and
do
all,
that, do this.
yeah, they were very, very strict on how it was done. Whereas like Ansel was like, yeah, cool, we're doing this. Like, and I think it was like she finally had a moment to herself to like relax, even though she couldn't relax because she was there for a purpose. She did sit there and be like, oh, they're cool, they're fine. Like I do understand what you're saying about like maybe relaxing a bit too much, but I think that there was other
Yeah,
things in play as well.
but also I think even that little bit of relaxing, then whenever she was like, okay, we can relax, this is fine, and then she'd be like, oh yeah, we're gonna go do this, it's fine, live a little. Because she's been so trained to do what she's been told as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
part of me was like, would she have actually done that things if it had just been her? But then also riding on a horse across the desert, like jumping
Yeah.
over that, like um
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. I can't remember what he
Um, like I
which
feel like all of that is cool, but
and
would she have done it
also
without Ansel?
I really love the fact that we get that backstory because that was hinted at when Dorian bought Kale the horse. And she went, "Oh, I once like jumped. Was it like a canyon or something like that? I can't remember
Yeah,
what it's called. On a Assyrian mare." And I was like, when I read this the first time, because I've always read it in the same way. I've read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, then this one. Um, and I loved seeing that and being like, oh, we spoke about that in the last book. I love it. Yeah, yeah. It shows a lot about Selena's trauma, let's be real. Speaking of Ansel, what did you think of her from the beginning, at the start of it?
I really liked her at the start.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that you in a case of I didn't like her at the end either, which
No.
makes no sense considering how many people turn their back on Selena over the years that I don't like, or that have done it so far I don't like. But I feel like
I
she
feel like
almost had the
because
opposite side of Irene, where she was once again someone stuck in somewhere that she didn't want to be and she was trying to get out of it, and
so
she was mad, and
I
Selena just
alluded
happened
to
to be there.
something earlier, and I said when we were talking about the where we should read this, I said that there were two characters, Selena and someone else, and I'm gonna say it now. It's Ansel, and I think that there is a mega parallel between them. That I think this is one of the reasons I love reading this book here, because I think if we didn't know Selena was highborn from Terrason who lost everything, and then you have Ansel of Briarcliff, who was from the Flatland, who lost everything, and both of them have every right to want like the ends that they want. Selena has every right to want to do whatever she needs to do to like go through her life. And I think it's really, really interesting to see like how the master says it at the end where he's like, you there are certain ways that you can deal with pain.
Yep.
And you can either fester in it or you can make it better or something like that. That's me very, very badly quoting that because the way that he says it is much nicer, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I think it's one of those things of I love the parallel between the two girls because
Um,
Selena could very easily have been that girl.
if you can learn to endure pain, you can survive anything. Some people learn to embrace it, to love it. Some endure it through drowning it in sorrow or by making themselves forget. Others turn it into anger, but Ansel let her pain become hate and let it consume her until she became something else entirely. A person I don't think she ever wished to be.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things
I
that
think it's one of the reasons that I can't hate Ansel.
yeah, 100%.
And
And I think
I know that we talk about characters in like so many different books. Like you and me have done masses, um, of like read-alongs lately. Like you've done Christoph-along, I did Schwab-along. Like the pair of us, and we both like dipped in and out of By the Angel along. Like we've been in so many different big things later. Um, that we've
bye,
all
Lisa.
talked. Hey, baby.
Thanks for joining.
Um, that we've discussed so many different characters that have varying things that have happened to them that we either agree with or don't agree with how they've turned out and what they've done to people in turn.
Yeah,
But I genuinely believe for her, she festered in her hatred and just wanted people to give her her dues,
yeah.
and she just went about it a little bit wrong.
And I
Like
think
she
I
shouldn't have
think
stolen horses to kick everything off, even if the horses do sound amazing and I'd love to ride one.
but and as well, I think that was like obviously that was intentional. That was his idea as well.
Yeah.
But I think I love the parallel between Selena and her because I think they are both two sides of the same coin. Ansel is a perfect way of showing what if Selena had gone down the path of thing. And that's why I like reading it here because I think that if we didn't know who Selena actually was, we wouldn't have had that impact. You wouldn't be able to see that parallel.
Yeah.
Um, we like didn't see coming at all.
I didn't
Um,
see it coming.
the fact that Master knew but gave her the chance to change her actions, but also him not being angry with her. Yeah, 100%. And I think like I don't hate Ansel at all. I think that she was genuinely fond of Selena. I think that the way she went about it was not right, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of times that people do things that aren't right, but they do it for what they think's best for them.
Or they think
And
it's the best reason because they don't know everything or they can't see another way out.
yeah, 100%.
And I genuinely think that if she could have found another way of doing it without hurting anyone, she probably would have tried, but she also just was very angry.
I also think it's really, really interesting because I think obviously, is it Mikhail that she's
Yeah.
flirty with? Obviously, she just fucking kills him. She doesn't care.
Oh no,
Whereas
genuinely doesn't.
Selena, she goes out of her way to try and save. And I think that's one of the reasons that I kind of don't hate Ansel because we know that those feelings have to be some form of real. Um, but yeah. Um, my next comment was literally, I love that Sarah J. Maas doesn't shy away from having multiple sassy female characters because Ansel and Selena become bitchy best friends, and it's great.
I love it when there's two females like this that are just they've got no qualms about being themselves.
They've got bands. Um, we also in this one we get the scene where Selena is beaten. Um, I will, Emma. I will read that in a bit. Sorry, she's just messaged me because she was like, I can't say it because spoilers, and I'll read it later because I will get distracted. Um, but I wanted to acknowledge I have read it partially.
I
Um,
appreciate that you messaged Smash, Emma.
we appreciate it. Um, the we get the scene where Selena is beaten by Arabin in this story, and it's pretty brutal. What were your thoughts seeing that?
Are we on to
Apart from
Underworld? Sorry.
no, no,
Are we still
this is
in?
still in desert.
Are we still in this one?
Yep.
I read them too quickly together.
Um,
um, I just dislike him the more I read about him.
page 137.
I went too far. Oh yeah, the flashback. It's here.
Yeah, you get the flashback. Yeah, you get to
Was
see like
the fact that I can't decide what's worse, making three guys hold Sam while he beats Selena, or beating Selena bad enough that she passes out before she knew what happened to Sam.
I think it's both. I think in
I think it's both of them are torture. Like
oh
they would,
100%, and that's the point.
yeah.
Um yeah. Yeah.
At least I think you. I like the fact that you did the pirates, and then you got the outcome of the pirates on the way to the next story, and then it is not as flowy as an actual story because it's short stories, but you can tell the timeline.
The only thing that I don't like, and I know that she has to do it, it's just a thing that annoys me because you can get these individually. Um, very often there'll be stuff that's repeated in each story, and I'm like, we've just read this in that story, and it frustrated me. But at the same time, I know that you can buy them separately, so I do appreciate that she has to give some information about it. But it's like in the last one, she's talking about the armor, and I'm like, we've seen them try the armor on. I don't care. Like
Yeah,
I know this, but I understand that it is in a short story collection and they were sold separately, so I do appreciate that.
yeah.
Um,
I just really dislike him, especially because it's set in the middle of the story about the desert.
yeah,
The other guild being so family like, it
yeah,
just is such a contrast. And not only do we obviously hate the fact that Sun and Sam are getting beat up, like obviously we
yeah,
hate that. Um, the fact that you see that parallel with, the worst thing that the other guys are getting is like, the train duty and oh, they have to get up early and run with some water. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to run 6 miles in a desert ever, but in comparison to having your hands broken and like them not healing or
yeah,
like getting beaten to a pulp, like
yeah,
I know which one I'd rather attempt to do.
yeah.
And I say
100%.
attempt because we all know my lazy ass would not manage.
My next comment was the remark at page 145 of who tells the story to whether she deserved the beating. I thought that was really profound. The fact that they ask, or when your master beat the living daylights out of you, did you deserve it? And she goes, I suppose it depends on who's telling the story. If Arabin Hamel is telling the story, then yes, I suppose I did deserve it. I cost him a good deal of money, a kingdom's worth of riches probably. I was disobedient and disrespectful and completely remorseless about what I did. But if the 200 slaves that I freed are telling the story, then no, I suppose I didn't deserve it. I fucking love that. And I think it's
There's
such a profound way of saying, basically, almost saying like history is written by the victors.
I was away to say there's literally a quote. I don't know which book it was. I wrote it down literally just the other day from a different book. Hold on, what book did I take it from? I would laugh if it was another one of these. Where is it? You know that moment where you know that it's here, but you just can't see it for looking. 2 seconds. Let me actually read these instead of just attempting to find one word, because that's probably
I'll
much more
start
effective.
on the next point whilst you're looking, just so that we can kind of get through these, so that it's not super late, because we don't want to go mega late this time.
Ah,
Um,
Bridge of
no.
Souls.
Okay.
Bridge of Souls by V. Schwab. History is written by the victors. How can we know what really happened if we weren't there?
Well, this is the thing. Like, it's always we've learned this as in like
In
in
general.
the last, yeah, because like a lot of people come around and say it, like it's the same as, like, let's be real, if the Nazis had won World War II, all of the information that we have would be very different. But
Yeah.
that's a different, that's too philosophical and all that for this.
But I just love that Schwab and Mass both have exactly the same equivalent statement.
Yeah. Um we get to see them. I've already talked about that, so I'm gonna skip over that. What? Yep, already said that, so I don't need to say that either.
Sorry, am I pulling you all over the place?
No,
Oh, it's the wrong
it's
way.
my fault. I'm saying stuff. Um, when the master agrees to train Selena, I almost cried. The fact that we don't
Yes.
know if it's because of her loyalty to Ansel or her flinching because she expected to be punished, like she was with Arabin. I just,
And
like,
also the fact that she stood up and put herself in Ansel's place, regardless of what was going to happen. I was
well,
like,
that's what I said. If we don't know if it's because of her loyalty to Ansel, because I think
oh,
that he knew. I think he knew that it was Ansel's idea.
oh, 100%. I mean, he already said he didn't know or didn't necessarily trust that Ansel wasn't
Yeah.
like going to turn her back on them anyway.
So I think he 100% knew, and he was just kind of like going along with it. So we don't know if that's the reason that he decides to train Selena, because he sees something in her, or if it's because he's seen what abuse she's gone through, and that's the reason that she has. Um, and I do,
Sorry.
like, I think it's very interesting that we never get to know what the answer is.
Sometimes no answer is the best thing
Yeah,
because what I think could have happened could be completely different to what you picture to what Emma pictures.
100%.
Um, but I just,
Yeah,
I wish it had ended a bit better.
yeah. One thing that I really appreciate is that Selena doesn't sacrifice her femininity just because she's an assassin. This was in relation to the fact that, like, she's putting makeup on Ansel, and Ansel's like, "How do you deal with this?" And she's like, "It's great. Shut up." Um, I love that she shows that
And
you can be a badass and also like to look presentable if you so want to. You don't
I
have to.
love that it was, I think it was this story, correct me if I'm wrong, where she was like, she walked down. Is it the spider silks in this bit, right? I
Yes,
am right in
yes,
saying. Yeah, so I love that like she walked down and she'd like spotted perfume and like she was eyeing the perfume and then she went and she eyed something else, but she didn't have enough money for both. And then she was like, actually, spider silk. And She was like, I will dream about the perfume,
And the
but I need
shoes.
the spider silk
And the shoes. She goes on about the
and the
shoes a lot.
shoes. I just love that she's like, and then again, skipping around because brain, and I'll never remember it if I don't bloody say it now. That when her and Sam have moved in, there's like a statement where Sam's like, "You're like accustomed to the fine things," like, and she's like, "I didn't realize how much. Yes, okay, I had to pay it back, but I didn't realize how much everything almost cost. Like, I had to pay back the clothes and the this and the that, but he didn't make us pay for like the food and the this and the that. Like, the fact that she's like, I still want to have all the pretty things, but I need
It's
to
the
eat.
fact it's the fact that she's like, "Sam, you need to stop using my lavender soap," and he doesn't realize it's the lavender soap. Um, my
I love
next
that lavender is the thing in fantasy books. Sorry, that's really random, but lavender is also a thing in Poison Study.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And
it's
it
so
just shows
pretty.
just how much he manipulated her.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
um, yeah, page 900, 194.
900.
Shut up, I'm dyslexic.
There is that many pages still in other books, isn't there?
Yeah, but don't take the piss out of me. I'm dyslexic and
No,
it
I was more
hurts
thinking,
my
how
brain.
long is it going to take us to get through those lives?
Shush.
I wasn't meaning anything against you. My brain just went, oh, yeah, that's going to be a thing at some point.
The point was consent. Love this. That was it. That like we didn't need to go into it all. That was that's the comment. Don't take the piss out of me. I've got PTSD from dyslexia.
My genuinely wasn't meaning to take the piss of you. I genuinely was just thinking of how long it's going to take me to get through those books.
Yeah, so it's when Ilias, who I love him. He is the fucking cutest. Um and she's just like, I can't, I'm sorry. And he's just like, can you blame me for trying? And I'm like, yes. Good lad. I
Yep.
appreciate you. We've kind of talked about Ansel's betrayal, so we can just go about that. What did we think of Selena's mercy?
I think it was very in character. I think if she shut up, Emma, no one asked you. And it's not 900 pages, it's only 890 or something. Um but yeah, I genuinely don't think it would have suited her personality and her character if she hadn't been merciful, considering
I think
she,
it,
like, where her line seems to be is
yeah,
like actual thieves, actual criminals, like people that are horrendous is up here, and like I don't care about them, I will do my job.
yeah.
Anybody else, especially somebody that she knows is human.
I think as well it shows just how much of an actual friendship the two of them had, because both of them tried to show mercy to the other.
Yeah.
So I think giving her that extra minute is just really, really interesting. Like,
I
ugh,
love that it literally was like, um she just missed as well. Like if she'd shot at the time, she would have caught her.
yeah,
Like the fact it landed at the horse's heels.
yeah, 100%, 100%. She snaps. She snaps.
I love her.
Um, the master calls the training Selena's had abuse and essentially sets her free. How did we feel about that?
I want to give her a hug.
Yeah, that's very valid. I feel like her being merciful everywhere else makes sense for that moment as to be groundbreaking as it is. Yeah. I also think it's interesting because in this one, I think whilst we have seen her being merciful to the slaves and we've seen her kindness in the stories, I think it's interesting because she could have turned around and said, "This is my way out. Like I don't want to show mercy." And I would have loved to see I don't think that the master would have given her the letter of recommendation had she killed Ansel.
No, I don't think so either.
Um, so I think
I
that that
think her spending some proper time with the master and his crew would have ended up with a completely different, like, I know obviously she went to the mines and like where she ended up on her trajectory ended up completely different to where she was when she went back to the guild anyway.
yeah,
But like if it hadn't done that sliding doors moment and it had been literally just stay with the master or go back to the guild,
yeah,
like the difference in where her life would have ended up would have been
100%.
amazing. Like it would
100.
have been incredible the difference.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Um, but yeah, I think that it's really, really interesting that the master gives her the money. Like, because here's the thing, he didn't have to give her all that gold, and he was like, "Set yourself free." He, I think that he's probably the first person in Selena's life to call it what it is
Yeah, abuse.
and try and give her a full helping hand. And I
I think a lot of
adore,
people she's probably met as well have all been doing the same thing that her and like Irene and Co have been doing. They've been trying to get themselves out, but they're scrambling. It's like being on a sand dune that's too steep.
I don't
They're
even think it's that. Like I do see where you're coming from, but I think that a lot of the people that she's interacted with are on Arabin's payroll,
yeah, that too.
and I
And a
think
lot of them, if they aren't on her payroll, they only know her because she's coming to kill them. Like she would definitely be keeping like a quieter.
yeah. I mean, at one point they do say like that he's just dancing like someone's granddad,
Yeah,
which I loved. I
the
loved them so
this
much.
description that Emma just said makes me think of the Cabbage Man from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I don't know if that makes anyone like if that gives anyone a picture well enough.
Yeah. This as well. It's very much this. Um,
He is honestly the yin to Arabin's yang.
yeah,
Like they couldn't be more polar opposite if they tried.
and I think
Other
that
than the
it's.
fact they're both, assassins.
I also think that it's the way that it's the thing that Selena needed to. I think that it's the thing that Selena needed to see so that she could take her like get herself out of that situation. I'd gathered.
Yeah.
But yeah, any more thoughts? Any more feelings? Any more anything else that we need to?
I felt like Selena definitely like she ended up in the desert as, but let's face it, as punishment of some equivalent. But by the time she left, she'd kind of healed a little bit.
Yeah,
Like she wasn't quite as rose tinted glasses
no,
against or
she wouldn't
for
have.
like where she grew up. Like I think she very much was a spoiled princess at the start. Not in a bad way. Just she was the only girl. She was very much mollycoddled and given the best things, but I genuinely think she was being groomed. Like if she'd been any older, I
Yeah,
am very, very shocked that Urban didn't try anything sooner. Like I know that it's obviously mentioned in this later where it was like this unidentified relationship where she wasn't sure if he was mentor, father, brother, like anything like that. And I think if Arabin had even begun to hint at anything, I don't know if Selena would have had the ability to say no, considering how much pressure and how much of a hold over her he seemed to have.
I don't
But I
even
think
think it was
that
a
kind of
pressure. I think like
breaks off a
I
bit
think
after
that
this.
it was a she idolized him very much so, and I 100% agree. It was he groomed her. He it was almost Stockholm syndrome. He saved her life. She owed him.
Yeah,
I also think it's really really interesting because we're going to talk about another character in a minute, Lysandra, who is a courtesan,
yeah,
um, and we Selena could have easily fallen on that path as well.
100%.
Um,
So easily.
very
And
very
so could
easily.
Sam of.
It is, yeah. It's a different side of the same coin. Again, they both hoard out one for sex and one for dying.
Yep.
Um, well, killing, not dying. Um,
I got you.
but yeah, I think it, it very, very easily could have been something maybe a bit more sinister.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I'm
thankfully,
just
it's not.
stopping to get more juice because
How dare you?
I know.
Yeah, we'll get to Lysandra a bit later. Um, but I think that's all for the assassin in the desert. I will still say, um, Ilias, I loved. I thought he was great. He
I
was
would
just a
also like to see more of him. He would be the character I think from that story. Like if I was picking one character from the first three where we're not like based,
mhm.
um, I think he
I
would be the
just
one I
thought
would want. Either him or the master, but like generally him because that's more
he's
fun.
a special little bean. He's so cute. Um, but yeah. It's also nice to see the parallel between him and Selena because they are basically the same thing.
Yep.
Um, and he's just been brought up with love, whereas Selena's been brought up with not so much.
Distaste, distrust,
Abuse.
abuse. Yeah.
Um,
Poor
I
bugger.
don't have much for the next story, so this one's going to be quite. We're actually doing pretty well on time. Let's be real.
I mean, an hour and a half for half the book.
Yeah,
Pretty good
we've
for
only got,
us.
we've only got two more stories, and I've only got like a page and like just over a page of notes for the two.
We're
We've got it.
grand. We've got this.
Better than the
And
last
then
one. Jesus wept. We talked for a long time last time.
I'm so I do not now or ever say that I will be quick on a live show. And this
Oh
is
no,
with only two of
100%.
us. Like me, Lisa, and Jem for some of like I think a darker shade of magic ones were like the worst for us. But like if I love something, I'm sorry. And you love it
No.
already. So like the fact that you've read it and I haven't, I think is a really cool dynamic. Like I
Yeah.
know that I'm just kind of blowing our own trumpets here, but like it's such a different type of live show than it was for Schwab. Like
Fingers
maybe.
crossed. I think we should be.
Maybe.
I don't see us going for another hour. I'm not going to lie.
No, but
Maybe
I
45
love
minutes.
this and I'm hoping I mean so far nobody's complained. So I'm hoping that you and me just having like this kind of discussion and you knowing what questions to ask because it's much easier than like being
I'm,
told.
I'm going to apologize for the person I'm going to become on the next live.
It's
It's my
fine.
favorite book. It's like
It's
I said.
fine. I think we should do the next one on a Friday night where neither of us have to work on the Saturday so that we can just keep going and if need be then fine.
With wine.
With oh yeah, okay, I'll get cider in. I'm not a wine drinker. I'll get cider in.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
We can do
Um.
that.
Okay. So the assassin in the underworld. Um. My first comment is Arabin automatically apologizing when they first speak. Red flag.
Yeah, I was like,
It automatically puts Selena on the wrong foot because she doesn't expect it. And that's exactly why he does it. He
yep.
automatically goes, I'm really sorry. So she's like, oh, I did not expect this. I don't know what to do. And he knows what he's doing and he's an absolute dickhead. And we don't.
Before that though, he makes her wait while reading
We love
um
you.
like he makes her wait while reading documents and then Lysandra's there and like he's been entertaining and he's only done it to put her on a back foot and I'm like, yes.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what
It's
he's
not
doing.
it's like he is genuinely playing war with her brain to make her not leave him. I don't know. It's a really it's weird. Like
So to skip a little bit to the next story, obviously he does say he mentions to Sam, has she not told you about her past?
yep,
So we it's kind of hinted that Arabin knows everything.
yep. And that he doesn't share what's his.
And I think that he knows just how much of an important player that she could be.
And that when
Also
Maggie comes back, he wants her on his side.
also, I will say this is also one of the reasons I think that this needs to be read afterwards. I'm going to keep on defending um our timeline because Lisa, like, Lisa, I love you. If you watch the rest of this back, you're not going to, but if you do, I love you and
We love you.
I appreciate that's your opinion and you are more than welcome to have your opinion. But I think that you get more out of this short story, um, these short stories when you know the backstory. And I think that there's a lot of things that are hinted and that are just dropped that I would never have picked up on, or I would have picked up on, and then it would have. I think that it would have blown finding out that she was ailing. If
Yeah,
I'd read this and I'd read, um, like, "Oh, does he not know about your past?" I'd be like, What are you saying here?" Because that was so overt
yeah.
that I
Like,
think that it
what's going on? What about your past? And then when he'd been having the conversations with Kale, I'd be like, well, there's obviously something there, but what is it? Like, it's bugging me
I
that
would
I
have
still don't know. Like,
but I've said this with me and Becca have talked about things where I can tell you I've said this. There is a TV series that I watch, and I'm not going to say it because I know that I it was a spoiler for me, so I'm not going to say what it is. But my friend turned around and said, "Can I tell you something from this?" And I was like, "No, please don't. It's going to be a spoiler." And she turned around, she's like, "Oh no, it doesn't spoil anything. It doesn't spoil anything." And she went, "It's just that there's a threesome in it, and it's really hot." And I went, "Well, he's not in the picture, and he's not in the picture, so he's probably dead, and I don't know where he is because this." And she just looked at me and she was like, "How do you know that?" I was like, "Because I know characters that well." So there are things that I pick up on that, and I think it's an ADHD thing. I think, and I also think it's an ADHD thing. I think it's because I write things. I think it's because I write things. I think it's because I do D&D. I have to know what the twist is because if I'm writing it, I need to know what's going on. I'm fucking annoyed that that happened.
I
Like,
love your computer
it
so
was such
much
a stupid
today.
point. And then it
Go
was like,
go do your
"Please."
go do this one so you can be mad at your computer. Thanks. Emma, it is tandem,
Yeah,
January, February, or read them individually, whichever way you want to do.
so essentially we're gonna have like a double live show for the two of them. Um, Me and Tori are gonna be doing the tandem. There's a graphic on the um
Twitter.
yeah, on the Twitter. I got distracted because you were doing peace signs and I
I
was
was
thinking you
trying,
were
it doesn't work on mine. I should know, I don't have a Mac, like, it's not gonna work
yeah.
for me.
Um so yeah, we are going to be doing them in tandem. The tandem read is there if you would like to participate. It is not needed to do it. I know that Becca does not want to do the tandem. So we have said we're going to have a double live, so we're going to talk about both of the books, but you don't
It
have
will
to tag
probably
me.
be like an all-day Saturday, let's face it.
And you don't need to do the tandem. I will send you the graphic. Yeah. You, see, not be doing the tandem.
Hi,
Yeah,
Becca.
the graphic is
It's
on the
like gone
Twitter, but I will
silent.
send you it straight away, just so I don't forget it. Um,
I literally thought Becca had disappeared on us because you haven't commented in a while, and then she just popped
no,
up being like, "Nope,
she just quiet.
that's okay." She doesn't
To
wanna
be
give
fair,
anything
like
away.
we've said this on multiple occasions. A lot of the time, because of stuff we can't, there's stuff that we can't say
You
because they
do a
make us.
fantastic job, babe. Like, I could not
I
do what
have
you're
kept
doing.
my face neutral for a lot of things. Um, Sorry, I'm doing this now so that I don't
No,
forget.
no, it's all good.
There you go. I sent it to you. Um, yeah, that's also very very fair. Um, yeah,
The har
I
the
think
hardest live show I did, to be fair, was Chain of Thorns when I had no voice and I was typing, and I was in the comments, like, me t attempting to keep up, but also not fall behind on where they were, and then they'd find my comments, like, late yeah,
yeah,
weirdest live show I've ever done because I wasn't
yeah.
here.
But I like yeah, yeah. Um,
I forgot what we were saying.
we were talking about Arabin and stuff like that and how he was doing things. but I can't remember exactly what we were talking about. Um, oh, we have a nice comment that we have to show. But yeah, essentially, like I think it shows a lot about Arabin's character and the abuse and all of that, and I think there is a lot that's revealed in this book of like how much Arabin knows, and that's what we were talking about. We were talking about how um the order, because if I read this one first, I probably would have predicted that Selena was an alien.
Yes. I
Um,
don't know if I would have, but
I think
am very glad that I did it this way.
yeah, 100%,
I
100%.
mean, you
So
and me are gonna keep coming back and saying that, but I am very, very glad, and I
yeah,
will also defend this.
as I've said, like to Lisa, no, don't worry about it. Absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. We got there in the end. It's just my brain is like a sieve. Um,
I already said my brain wasn't braining before we even went
yeah.
live.
Um, but yeah, I think that's the thing. Like,
The fact that I think there's a bit where Sam is like, "How could you forgive him? Um, like you came back and he showered you with a few gifts and you
um,
um
just to say this, this is a live spoilery of Assassin's Blade. If you've not read it, and you don't want to be spoiled, I would leave now. This is a live show discussing this book, and we don't want you to be spoiled.
yeah,
Um,
it's not
just
sprints
just in
like we
case you
normally
think
do."
it's Prince or something, we don't want you to be spoiled. So if that's what if you're looking for sprints and stuff, I'm sorry, it's not here today.
Just in case.
Yeah. I don't wanna spoil people.
No, because I would have hated it if I'd had that spoiled. Um, I wonder if I can find it. I've done pretty well at finding the right bits so far. Um, I don't know, but I've found another bit. Her in the sewer. We need to talk about her in the sewer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have a
Um,
bit about that since that's like chapter 5.
I put the way she almost dies is gross and grim.
I couldn't have said that better. Literally, my heart was pounding. We were almost, in fact, I think we were at the end of one of my sprints because it was still, I was reading that on my sprints on Saturday, and I was literally like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, like, you know, when you know that someone can't die because this is book 3 and there's 8 books, like something, but you can almost die and you can like be brought back and like shit can happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
Yeah.
bad timing.
Um, I totally agree with this. I think that Selena keeps a lot of her hate required. Um, yeah.
Also, what kind of name is Leafer?
Do you
Like,
know what?
I have issues with that name, okay? Like, is it Lee? Is it Jennifer? Like, is it Leanne? Like,
I
no,
mean, in
Leafer?
the audiobook said Leafer.
Yeah, it did. And it made it sound like leaves, which made it even worse because then I just pictured her as a tree. I was
I
like,
Yeah. What was even funnier was because it's NaNoWriMo, so I'm writing at the moment, and I almost called a character Lee, and I was like, no, that's not one, you're named Ashley, so that's weird. And two, like it's not a fancy like a fantasy enough name. Um, so I was like, I'm just gonna like not use that. And then I read this and I was like, it's Leafa. Um also
yeah,
just to say this again, yeah, please leave if you've not read them. We are talking mega spoilers, and don't want to do that to you. Um, yeah,
for all of these.
I have said just kind of casually. I feel bad because Selena is so naive in this story.
Yeah,
Like, ugh,
but also her love of the theater is very cute. And I feel that
yes,
down to my bones.
100%, 100%. Um, I've also said the reminiscing about Ansel makes the reader realize just how big of a betrayal Nehemiah's was. Um, this isn't the first time that, yeah, like if you think about it, like what
Don't
happened.
do that to me.
Sorry, but I have to. Um,
You don't have to. You're just being mean to me.
I'm not being mean to you. But I do think that like how Selene is portrayed in both ways is quite similar, and there is a bit of a like Sarah J. Maas likes her parallels, man.
And
Like,
are kick-ass females.
um,
Mean.
w- nice. I'm going to get you to leave then if you've not read them.
Yeah, Elena,
Please, please go. Please
you
go.
will get so many spoilers.
We are talking about this book in depth. So please, yeah, just I'm sorry. I'm gonna put you in timeout because I don't want you to be spoiled. And I don't think that you need to be here. So sorry about this. I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil that for someone else.
Like we've given ample warning. Ample warning. I don't feel horrendous doing that. I'm not gonna lie because we've said it 3 or 4 times.
And Becca said it in comments in case they
Yeah,
didn't catch us. Like,
100%.
too
Anyway,
many spoilers. I am not spoiling this whole series for someone based off of the
no,
last section of this book that we haven't talked about yet.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I know
100%.
it's more than that. It's slightly like more like that, but still.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Snap.
um, thoughts on Lysandra?
Um, also a cocky, arrogant teenager who has had shit thrown in her way.
Yeah, 100%.
um,
I
she's very,
bitchy.
yeah, and she's very aware of the fact she's a virgin and that she will,
Level.
um, like she's aware of her beauty. She's aware of the fact that she will make money. She is aware of what she is worth,
She
which
was
is
bred for
almost the
this.
parallel of,
She's been bred for this. She knows
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, she it's again same coin, different side of the same coin. Um, I the way she tries and does get under Selena's skin pisses me the fuck off in this book. Like she just is like there's certain things and I'm just like there's no need to say that. There's no need. Why are you saying that shit? Go away. Go away.
yeah, but
Um,
also like Selena, Selena. My brain
yeah,
is now telling me I'm saying everything wrong.
no.
Um, she has very much been like pushed on this pedestal, and
Mhm.
she very much believes that she's worth the spot there.
Mhm.
And it just so happens that she is, I guess, technically. Like,
It's the same criticism that we've had about Selena. It's just a different it's she's whoring instead of killing.
yeah. But also, I love the fact that throughout it, like throughout the whole book, there's comments on the fact that Sam could also have done it. I love the fact that they don't just put it as female courtesans. Like, I
Yeah.
love the fact that, not that they have to do it for males and females. That's not what
Yeah.
I mean. But I love that it's equal opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I I very much don't like because here's the thing, like I said it about Caltain in the first one. I don't hate Caltaine. I think that she's a bit of a bitch, but I don't hate her because in the first one, yes, she has all of that stuff, but we can see why she does it, and we could say that she's very opportunistic. But
Yep.
Selena's doing the same, just in a different way. So I never hate the characters for what they do. I just there's certain times where you just kind of roll your eyes, and like we said, she's a teenager. We totally understand. Teenagers are dicks. We were all teenagers and we were all dicks once.
And bitchy.
And bitchy. And yeah. My next comment was literally just the way she almost dies is gross and grim. We've already discussed this. Do you want to go into that more?
It's just the fact that she literally, well, A, she's in the sewer,
Hmm.
which is definitely gross and definitely grim. Um, but the fact that, okay, she got away from being tied to the chair and then she managed to run away and this, that, and the next thing. But like, she finally managed to get to an exit.
Totally agree with this.
Yeah. Um, and then she can't open it. And Sam is there and they can't open it. Like,
And then there's just a random woman with a crowbar who helps. And I want to know where the fuck they got the crowbar from because it's
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah.
Um, it's
Very
it's
grim. I love this word is definitely the
I can't think about it too much. Knowing what no, I'm not even gonna go into it because um it makes me feel ill and we don't want to talk about that because I know that there's someone watching who does not like um please leave. I'm not trying to say this in a mean way. I'm just saying this in the sense of we don't want to spoil you. Please go away. It's nothing against you. It's just we don't want to spoil you. I've fully banned because
we
don't
can't, like, that's the whole point of not watching spoilery stuff if you
yeah,
haven't read the book. Um, but yeah, let's move away from the sewers.
yeah.
Eh,
Um my last comment was did you see the twist coming?
no, I don't think I did.
No.
No, there
With the
weren't
fact
very
that
many twists in this that I saw coming, which was why I think why Sam didn't hit me as much because it was the one that I did know was coming, or at least
yeah,
I assumed was coming,
yeah.
and I think that's why everything else hit me harder.
Yeah.
Not that I cried, because I'm not a major crier, but, like, I
I
didn't see 99% of any of this coming.
I was obviously I've read this book before, so I can't say for sure. And like I said, I haven't read this book for years.
A
Like
while.
the last time I read this was 2018, so that was like 5 years ago. So I don't know exactly what I thought about it when I first read it. But I
Yeah.
will say I very much think that I probably saw something coming. I didn't know if it was definitely that, but the fact that Arabin completely changed his tune and was like, "Do you want to take down slavers?" Like it was like, why would he suddenly have changed so much? And I didn't fully trust that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I just I don't know, I just didn't trust him. Like, but I couldn't figure out why. I just didn't like him, didn't trust him, didn't
Yeah.
believe he was honest, but I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Um, but genuinely, um, I don't think I saw I think it was in that one that she paid off Sam's
Sam's.
debt as well.
She also did we see in this one that she put the spider silk in his thing and not
Yeah,
hers?
because he got attacked at the end of it.
Mhm.
Um, I always assumed that there was enough spider silk for both of their costumes. Is there not? Is it only in Sam's costume?
I can't remember. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I just know it was like,
I just know that when I first read it, I assumed she would be putting it in hers and then she put it in his.
yeah,
So
100%. Um,
anyway,
but the fact that she thought she was helping keep them away from slavers and then it wasn't, oh my god. I was like, he
it's
is an
heartbreaking.
actual ass because you literally
Yeah.
like she's literally got beat up. She literally got put to the desert for the fact that she saved 200 of them and she's literally just delivered
Nothing.
information. Um and I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
The fact that the person she thought she was like saving was
Yeah.
actually an ass. I mean, she's called Leifer. It sounds like Lucifer. I mean, really.
Mm. And let's be real, the guy that she was going after wasn't the nicest dude either. Like he was probably better than some, but the fact that he was like perving on young girls was just a bit ick.
Very
Like
much so.
you kind of understand why she was like a bit sold. That is all of my comments for this story. Um, is there anything else we want to add, or do we just want to move on to the last one?
Um I don't think I had any other thoughts.
Should we just move on to the last one?
I think we've mentioned them all because I'd said about the music,
Yep.
and I said about the sewers, which I was like, we need to mention that because yo,
Yeah, 100% agree with this. I mean, we know this from like even the end. Like if we go to the last story, she does not believe for a second that Arabin would have um sold them down the river, that it was
and the
one
fact
who
that like even right, even from reading the first two books, we don't know who did it. Like at this point, before I read this,
yeah,
I did not know, and that hurt me more than Sam dying.
yeah.
Like, and I don't think it should because Erwin has never been nice to her, and Erwin is always out for himself. But he's
I
still that mentor. He still has a really deep bond to her, and the fact that he managed to decide that him having the new king of the underworld be his like right hand man and selling them off to the king to be able to not only have the king ignore the underworld but also ignore the assassins
I
is
think at the same time though, I think it you said that it like it shouldn't make you that upset, but I think it should because we we, we know how many times Selena's been betrayed. We know that like and I think up until this point, yes, we know that he's a dick, and yes, we know that he's manipulating her, but we can only see it for this point, and we don't know if this how long this has been going on. This might have only just gone on since the slave incident.
yeah.
So, because we don't have any knowledge of how long it's happened. We don't know if
But
this has
all
been like all of the time. We know that obviously like the breaking of the hand thing and stuff like that, but we don't know how far this abuse goes.
but also, can we just point out that the king of the underworld is a fucking sadistic bastard,
Yeah.
and the king of the well, Urban is also exactly the same. Because at one point there's a comment from Selena where she's like remarking on how sadistic. I can't remember what his name is.
Rock?
Is that the guy who's number two that ends up as number one?
I'm sure it's Rock.
It's like right at the back page. Hold on. I'm sure it's like 4 pages from the end.
Farron. Farron. I don't
Baron.
know.
Um, like there's a bit where Selena's commenting on how sadistic he is and how he can like peel off skin and do this and do that and like keep them alive. And then she's like, well, wait, actually, Arabin taught us to do that, but it's different when it's from us.
Yeah, I have this in my notes. I turn around because like it's page 380. Sam says we're not like that, and it just made me sad because he was so desperately like, we're not like that. We're not like that. We're not. And like it and they have to kind of like justify it, and it's just really sad. Um
Because really they are, but that also made me wonder how long the two of them had like this budding friendship. Um, and also if it will come back and bite them in the ass when Selena.
maybe. Um so we are now talking about the last story. So um
I'm just gonna cuddle my book.
my first comment was it's interesting to see the power Arabin has to stop them getting contracts because it's shown very early on neither of them have had work since they left the Assassin's Guild.
Yeah. And I think Selena was right in saying that pardon me, sorry, that they needed to buy their way out, otherwise they wouldn't have it. Like she needed to get on his at least his good side so that people would get contracts. But obviously he doesn't like to be made a fool of and he doesn't like to be paid off with the amount of money he's expecting. Like I'm assuming he thinks it's a high enough price that nobody will be able to buy themselves out.
Yeah.
You'd assume.
Well, it I don't even think it's that. I think because obviously he says like he names a price and it said that it's literally what she's got in her bank account.
Yeah.
So he
So
knows exactly what they've got.
they have no power. Absolutely none.
And it's only at
It
this
just
point that you realize just how little power they've got.
Yeah, I don't think even if it was every penny that Sam had, that Sam would have the ability or
I
the want
also
to spend all of that money and then start from scratch again.
I also think it's really interesting because it's only ever the amount of money she's got. And I think it just
Yeah.
shows just how much of a second thought that Sam is. Um, my next comment to keep it light and cheerful,
Yeah.
um, from this
Come on then.
story, I think it's very clear that they were never meant to be together. Even if Sam loved Selena, she was better and had more money, and he would always in some way resent her. And we can see that from this story.
Oh, the he resented her already.
He was like, we need money, we need this, and then she had it and he was like, we I need to do this, I need to do that. He was the one who went and looked for the contract. He found it. Um and when she was like, no, we need to do that, we can't do this, he was very adamant that they had to.
Yeah. And the fact that he kept fighting as well.
Yeah.
Um, People die in the vaults. People die because they fools in search of glory. They're not trained assassins. Accidents still happen. Any of those men could have snuck in a blade. You really think it's so little of my abilities? Risking yourself for a few coins is absurd. We need money wherever we can get it. We have money. It won't last forever, not when we haven't been able to get any other contracts, and especially not with your lifestyle.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of
I don't think they were a good fit. I think it was
no,
puppy love.
I think
She was probably one of, sorry,
no, go.
she was probably one of the few females that actually was brought up around Sam. One of the few females who wasn't disgusted by the fact that he could kill or
or
turned
who
off
was
by it.
or who was a courtesan.
Yeah.
And obviously
And
we know his mother was a courtesan because it said that she was a courtesan,
yeah,
and
sold
he
in at very young, like 8 as well. So,
and
like,
they've turned around and they turn around and say like he didn't want he didn't like that, he didn't appreciate that, like he saw the thing. That's why he was so close with Lysandra and why he gave Lysandra so many like outs,
yeah,
because he knew that it's something very similar to their story, which I really
yeah.
appreciate.
I also think on top of that, though, from the not the other point of view, but like from a different spin, even if he hadn't died, there is no way Arabin would have let her leave with him.
No.
I think Sam would have died regardless.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it wouldn't have been in this way, but I genuinely believe if they'd got through this, there would have been another accident, or there would have been another incident, or he would have got caught somewhere else. Like, if Arabin had set this
Honestly.
up, like, if the first one fails, that's fine, let's just set up another one. Like, there would have
And it
been time
does.
after time with
And
him
I,
just
but
pulling the
I think
strings.
I think that very much so that because we know that this plan was set in motion, I think that he knew it wasn't going to fail.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he was the one who told her where to go.
Even to the
And
extent of him locking her in the room. That was a power play because that made her realize, like, he could have easily let her just be there and had something play out, but with him taking her power away, she went, "No, fuck it, I'm going to do this."
yep,
And he knew that. He knows what he raised her. He knows what she's like.
yep,
Um, I've also again said Sam waiting for Selena. Consent is sexy. Like
yep. As much as we don't think they were good together, very, very good. And
they,
it's good to see in a YA
yeah,
because actually, as much as you think about it, a lot of YAs with like the 16 to 18-year-old characters don't necessarily always wait.
yep.
Like,
And the fact
but
that
also
it's brought up, it's just fantastic. Like the way
my
that, yep.
on you go. Sorry. I will remember. It's okay.
Mine was just to say, like, it's just the fact that, like, he says, "I'm fine with waiting. It's absolutely fine. Like, you don't need to be ready." Like, it's one of those things of like, obviously we know that there's the fallacy with virginity and all that, and we're not going to go into that because that's a whole different kettle of fish that I can't be bothered to go into. But it's nice to see a male character like not just being a dick and not
Or acting
thinking with
with
his
his
dick.
hip. Snap. I was gonna say again, another revelation that I had from reading this where I've read it, and not from reading it at the start, which not meaning to harp back on it, but from the way that she talks to like the prince whose name has gone out of my head.
Oh,
Thank you. Literally, my brain was like, Prince, that one, him, or Kale. I can't remember who it is that she has the talk with, but obviously, as they get closer, I think it was Kale. And like you, you know that she's been hurt, and you know that there was something in the past, but you never know what, and it's never
mhm.
really described. And you know that he's called Sam, and like you know there was something, but it's never actually said in the first two books whether they slept together or if they
Yeah,
didn't. And it's you're never sure if like she's so heartbroken because they finally slept together then something happened, or if like they've been sleeping together for ages and they've been together since they were kids. Like you don't know how deep it's gone,
mhm.
but I think it's quite interesting seeing the fact that obviously we know she spent time in Enderveer, so we know that she is no longer as young as you would expect her to be
Yeah.
necessarily for being a virgin in like a universe like this,
I
if
also
that makes sense.
no, no, it does. I also think it's really interesting because I think you're very, very right. We know he's called Sam. We know that something happened. We know that it was just as she got sent to Wendovia. Um, but because we don't get the gaps filled in, potentially it does. Potentially it does.
Maybe. I think up until that point, though, I'd assumed she had,
I'm
but I
not gonna
can't remember.
lie. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that I know about them two sleeping together is that they do it in a broom cupboard at one point, and that's the only thing that my brain remembers because at one point they go, that she's talking about with Nehemia, and that's the only bit of information that I retain from their like that book with the. I'm just saying, like that's the only like I just even
And
like
I'll be honest, I'm not Googling it a single thing.
yeah,
I'm not doing it. So I'll hold my
I
hand up then. But I'd forgotten that in that case.
Yeah, Becca's probably right. All like I said, all I remember, and it's one of those things of like it's when you read a book and certain things when you don't read it for a long time, there's certain things that stick out. The only thing that sticks out is the broom cupboard,
I love that.
which I know is really bad, but I always just remember them having a conversation about how they did it in a broom cupboard, and that's all I remember from Crown of Midnight.
That's very fair.
Um, but yeah, um, it becomes really clear in this book just how much Arabin has been manipulating both of them. That's fair. Um,
Fair. It's one of that
again,
things where the word stuff is so like open-ended.
yeah.
I mean, you've got a group full of people that read smut on a, you know, like I'm sure we could all give you different definitions of that just from us four, but yeah, it's one of that things that even though I did know in the back of my head that Kale, I believe, like I think I remembered that Kale was her first. Like I didn't realize how little she did with Sam. Is possibly a
Mhm.
better way of saying
Yeah.
it. Becca's side eyes. Totally didn't know it. Totally didn't know.
Um, yeah. Going
I really like the way that this started and ended.
Mhm.
The whole bit of it starting with her on the way to end of year and ending as she got there,
I
my
think
heart was like pounding the whole way through. And I know that obviously if you read this after you've read the first two, you know about Sam. You don't know what happened,
yeah,
but you know something's going to happen. But because you start past that point
yeah,
with her already caught
yeah.
and with her already knackered and betrayed and hurt and scared as
Broken,
hell and
broken.
broken, yeah. Um, I think then going back the way to when she's happy,
Yeah.
well, maybe not quite happy, but like planning on getting away, like they're trying to get their one last job so they can get the money
Was
together so that
that was what I was gonna say. I knew I had another thought and I knew I'd lost it. I
I love when that works.
going back to that I don't think Sam and Selena work together as a couple. I think that she mourns Sam, she does mourn Sam because he's the only person that she could truly trust. I'm not gonna deny that, and I do think that she has feelings for Sam. I don't know if they're romantic or if they're platonic, and I think that she would have figured that out as she went. But I think she mourns the life that she could have had with Sam more than anything. And I think that that's one of the main things. She does mourn him because obviously the reason that he died, she probably blames herself for, and I don't deny that. But I think that more than anything is she was going to escape this life and she was going to have a quote unquote normal life with him, and she couldn't get that.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think they would have lasted. Like I just have visions of them going to this other continent, not knowing anyone, and her hating the fact he's made her move so far. Like
I
I
also
think if she was trying to give up, I would have loved her more to have gone back to the desert and to the master.
and I think that's the thing, and I think no matter what they did, I think that he would have resented her because I think he would have resented her because if they went to the master, if they went to the silent assassins, then he would have been like, well, I don't know anyone but you do. Um Obviously we know she's skilled, so and she's got a name for herself. So I think that it would have been like, well, you're getting more jobs than me, even though we're both being trained the same way. And I think she would have resented him for taking her somewhere that she didn't understand or didn't know. Yeah. And I also think that that's the thing. And I think because she wasn't telling him everything, let's be real, communication is the most important thing to have in a relationship, and they didn't communicate enough.
Nope. I mean, the fact that she didn't even think it was worthwhile saying that Arabin had dropped in,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
which meant that when Arabin then saw him, she could be like, "Yeah, but do you know her? Do you really know her? Do you know what happened?" Like,
Arabian's been he has been weaving those threads for so long, and he knows exactly what to do to piss them both off.
like a
Um,
little puppeteer.
mhm. I'm gonna quickly
That's what
get through the rest of my notes because we are getting it's going on, and I am getting a bit tired, I'm not gonna lie. Um,
we're almost there.
we are. Um, Obviously, we've said about it being him being a manipulative. I don't need to go over that again. Um, I loved the fact that it was very, very casually like an evil man enjoying the book Selena enjoys does bring up interesting thoughts to me because it's like, what if there's someone who is absolutely horrific who loves the books that we love? And it messed with my mind a bit, I'm not gonna lie. I did sit there and I was like, "Oh, what if there's just, like, a mass murderer who just really, really likes Sarah J. Maas? That's weird."
And then he goes, "Yeah, but look, they're trained assassins. It's okay.
Yeah.
This is who I aspire to be."
Um, I've
They're
already
not as
said this,
pretty,
but
obviously.
yeah, I've already said this, but I do appreciate that the short stories were available separately, but it did annoy me when things were repeated, and I understand that why they had to do that, but it was when it was talking about the armor, and I was like, "I know about the armor, I've just read the story."
Yeah, I felt that.
My next one is just Sam doesn't deserve Selena because I think Sam deserved a happy ending, and I don't think he ever could have had one with Selena, and vice versa. But and here's the thing: I say this in the way that I love Selena so much, and I appreciate her so much, but I don't think she appreciated Sam as much as she should have, and I think that he deserved better. I think he deserved someone who could love him for him and who could give him everything, and I don't think Selena could have done that. So I think he
No.
deserved better. Um, I also said she does have a bit of a pattern. Um,
Hmm.
Someone dies, she goes mental, kills a bunch of people, and then winds up in a dungeon.
Yeah. Also in the King's Dungeon.
Yep. Like, you'd think
Yeah.
she'd learn. You'd
Go
think she'd
mental somewhere you won't get caught.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Um,
That's
my
funny. I
next
didn't
one
realize that parallel either.
Yeah, no, I only realized it when I reread it, and I was like, "Oh, actually, I'm gonna point this out." And my last 2 ones, um, I'm gonna say this again because I feel like we've touched on this at the start. Um, yeah, she is. She is. Um, I don't think Sam is pivotal to the entire story. Um, I think it's an interesting add-on to the story, but I don't think it's necessary.
I
Um,
think he could have done the same thing if he'd ended up being like a brother. Like had a brotherly rivalry in the first book and then being like a stronger, like more grown up pair of siblings in the last one. I
yeah,
think it would have worked just as well.
and I also think, like, again, I say I don't think that we see enough of Sam to form enough of an attachment. Um, and yeah, I just because we talked about this because you were like, oh, you're gonna cry, like people saying to you, you're gonna cry, you're gonna be really upset, and this, that, and the other. And I think I was getting really frustrated when we were on like sprints and stuff when people were saying that because I was like, in my mind, that's a spoiler. It's a very light, like it's not a spoiler, but it's spoilery because it's
Doesn't
like,
tell you what's
oh,
gonna happen, but it tells you to watch out for something.
yeah, and which is one of the reasons why I'm very much like, I'm not gonna tell you anything, like, I've got, like, anything that we've said on this when if you've said you may have said something that was
Oh,
completely
your
right and
poker
hit
face
people
is
on the head,
ace.
and I will not say anything because I'm not going to let you know anything that of that. Like, there is shit that I could say. There is shit that I
Oh,
could say,
there's shit that all of you could say.
and
I know.
there's stuff that I really wanna say and stuff like that, and when I ask you a question, I really have to be like, "Mhm, mhm, mhm." Because I don't want you to know. And I think that was one of the most frustrating things. And I don't get me wrong, all of our friends, all of anything like that. I don't blame them because I know that it is an emotional book and I know a lot of people do have an emotional attachment to it. I will
Well, don't be.
no, be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm not saying this in a way that's like that. My thing is, um, I'm trying to explain how I think that because you were prepared is my essentially what I'm saying, because you had it from multiple people. I think if one
Oh, I had
person,
about 7 to 8, 9 people. Like, about 5 to 7 people for this reread, specifically that we're doing, but I also saw, like, you, Becca, Siobhan, etc., read it last year, and I have a bunch of other friends who have seen it and have told me that every book gets like, it's not even just you guys, like, I may not have read them, but I've been around them,
yeah, and I think
so
it's a phenomenon. It's something that you're not
it's a
gonna,
phenomenon that I haven't read it yet.
and
Sat on my shelf for long enough.
but
Just hide.
I think, and I'm not saying this. I will say this, like Siobhan saying, "I'm not going to read it because it was so upsetting to me." That was that. Like I'm not calling them out. I'm not calling them out at all. Like that's how they want to. If they need to skip a book, they need to skip a book.
Yep,
Like absolutely.
do the best
But
for you.
the way that it was put out there quite a few on multiple occasions, all I could sit there and do was like, Tori's gonna
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen. Like I knew you knew.
That was the one thing I expected from this whole book, though.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't know when it was gonna happen, and to be honest, I thought it was gonna happen closer to the start, and
yeah,
that she was gonna end up in End of Year in here.
yeah,
So, like, I was expecting maybe, like, Sam to die in, like, the 4th one? 3rd or the
yeah,
4th one. I was expecting, like, somewhere around about here, and then this would be actually more information about her in End of Year.
yeah, no.
But
And
when I got to this one, and okay, stuff had happened, like people had, betrayed her and stuff had happened that was sad, but nothing had happened that would make me go, "Oh shit." I was like,
yeah,
"Right, well, I know what's going to happen
I
in the last one, but I don't know how it's going to happen."
yeah, because this is the thing, I'm saying that I don't think Sam's pivotal. I do think that the story is pivotal, and I think it's pivotal to her story,
Yeah.
but I don't think that the information that we're given, like, in the sense of his part in it, we don't need that. Am I saying that this book isn't needed? No, I'm not, because I think that there is a lot in this that builds up who Selena is, why Selena is why what she's like, and there
It
there
adds
is
so much to her because now she
um,
isn't just an assassin who got caught. She's an assassin who was attempting to undermine the person who basically abused her
and
and
I think
like mentally turned her against like so many other people to
I
help
also
people.
I also think it's something like, because I'm not being funny, um, and I feel like I can say this without it being a spoiler. We haven't seen Arabin in any of the other books. He's likely to come up in another book, in one
I'd
of the
assume so, considering, let's face it, Selena wants to kill his ass.
so
I mean,
I
she doesn't
think
know he wants to kill him at this point in time, and I am
yeah,
aware of that. But I'm also aware of like the killing rage that we just mentioned. Like, I have a feeling something's gonna happen at some point.
and I think
Um,
that's one of the things of, I think that there are elements in this book that are more important than that happening, and
don't get me wrong, that sucked. Like to
uh
have, your first major relationship end like that
yeah.
is horrible.
Also,
But
I just want to say,
overarching,
I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not
oh
blaming
god,
anyone,
no.
because we do this all the time. We do this all the time, and it's one of those things of like,
Trust me, it's been out there long enough that if I'd wanted to read it, it's been on my own shelf since 2016.
yeah. So do not it, because I know if I had if someone had said this to me, I would feel guilty. Do not feel guilty. I'm not calling
Hand
anyone
up,
specifically out.
it's me that is the one with potential spoilers, and it is none of you. It's more just like an overarching fandom vibe
Yeah, and
that
that
something
was
is
that
gonna
was the
happen.
thing. It's not one person. I just think that a lot of people reacted in a certain way that I just kind of sat there and I was like,
I would also
was
like to point out that certain books in Schwab-along did the same
yeah.
because again, people were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait for your reaction to that," and then I
It's
was like,
one of
"Well,
it's one
what's
of those things of like, when these books are so big and they are so popular and they are so like out there.
loved?"
Yeah. Like there's
Like, I'm
things.
excited. The fact that you guys are also excited to see me read these is so
Yeah,
exciting for me 'cause it's not just a case of I get to read Smash's favorite books, which is obviously why I'm here with Smash. But like I know Becca loves them, I know Siobhan loves them, I know Emma loves them. Like the fact that all of you love them means I'm gonna. Like
yeah,
I love all of your books like enough. It's more just I've put it off for so long because I've been terrified of it because of that overarching vibe.
yes.
Like you guys are pushing me into it, not in a bad way,
So we're
but
not. I like when I'm calling you out, I'm like, no, 100%, 100%, 100%. Um,
no,
no,
you
don't be
haven't done
sorry.
anything. Emma, I will come
Honestly,
hit you with some form of emoji in a second. Shush.
I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying that there was a lot that I was, because it would like we would be on sprints, and a lot of people would be saying the same thing, and I was like, because we discussed this before on the live. I was like, we potentially built it up a bit too much.
Yeah,
So, and I'm not being funny, when you're prepared for something, you can it's the same reason that we have triggers. It's the
yeah,
same reason we have triggers, because obviously we've all read a book where we've been waylaid by something that happens in a book, and we were like, if I'd known about it, I'd been prepared for it. One of them, that I love the book, but it Becca will tell you how much it screwed with me, was Astra Parker. Um I can't Ezra Parker Doesn't Fail, is I think it is. That book fucked with me because it was something that I didn't expect. And there was a
but yeah,
trigger
if you know
for
about
me.
it,
There was a trigger for me, and I said if I'd known about the trigger, it wouldn't have upset me as much as it did. But that book fucked with me because of how one thing was handled. The rest of the book was fantastic, but
yeah,
I think had I known about that, I would have been able to emotionally prepare myself. And I think that's the thing. But honestly, the amount
you have
I'm
done grand.
you've literally done nothing wrong. I'm saying this because by the end of it, when we were talking on yesterday,
Yeah,
I was starting to be like, okay, well maybe we're pushing it a bit too much. But I'd said the same thing. Like, I'm calling myself out as well. I had turned around and said, "Oh, you might cry." Like, I was going along with the joke. Like, I'm not calling anyone out. I'm not saying anyone's spoiled. I'm I'm just saying that, like, I'm trying to retract my my
you don't
state.
need to retract it. It's very much just
It is what it
that
is.
it is what it is, but also it's my own fucking fault for not reading a series that's been out for a decade. I want to point that out. But
You get
also, I sent, I don't know if I can show you. I sent this gift to Emma just to prove that I sent a shush gift. Look, smash.
sorry.
Shh. Shh.
Okay. So,
I love you all, and you're all doing grand. I'm just excited, as you saw when I did a little wiggle dance earlier.
yeah. So I think that is it. I think that's where we should end. I apologize if you feel like I called you out. I didn't mean to.
You
Um,
didn't.
it's one of those things. But we are going to be starting on this one for next month, and I am so excited.
I
You're right. You're fine. We're just making sure that you're okay. Because we want
we
all of
love
our.
you,
We do. Um, but yeah,
but also I am fucking nervous. I'm so excited.
I love this book. I don't know why I love this book so much, but this is I feel like, to completely go back on what I've said, um um I feel like you're going to judge me very, very hard when I say this is my comfort book. I'm just going to say that. Um it is great. I love it so much, and
Now it's your
yes,
turn to hug it.
I agree with this. I agree with this. No, she is allowed to. I just will not respect her opinion anymore. No, I'm joking. No, everyone's entitled
Also,
to their
Emma,
opinion.
I don't know if Becca's still here, but Becca will also agree with this statement because she's already told me she loves this book.
This is my favorite.
I love her outfit on the front of that book. And I know it's not as like
I love the one on
and
the back.
pretty as this, but
Well, I
like,
love that one is just Throne of Glass, but with a cloak on. It's the same
yeah,
art.
I know.
Um, but yeah, that's I think that we should end it there because it is
Current
10
book,
o'clock.
next book.
I'm very excited. Um, it's great.
We will see you
Also,
at
I have
some
read
point
this.
at the start of December
Also, I don't understand how I've read this one more than I've read that one, and yet this one is more shiny still.
because you love it. It knows not to destroy itself. It knows
All
it's
right.
loved.
Yeah. But thank you to everyone who joined. Really, really appreciate it. We kept it a bit less time this time. I'm very
Two and
sorry.
a half hours. It's
It's
better
still
than this.
yeah, it's still long. I do apologize. Thank you for
I
sticking
don't.
with us if you did. Thank you for joining even if you didn't. And yeah. And yeah, we will talk to you guys later. I'm really glad
You're
that some
welcome.
you're enjoying it. I am as well.
We do.
um, anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.